Let's start off today talking about the Supreme Court, as it's something I have an immense problem with almost anything and everything that has to do with it. The justices aren't elected by the people, they don't have term limits, and they can take massive donations they don't even have to disclose to the public. It's always been skewed conservative, largely because conservatives, mega donors, corporations, the rich billionaires can pour millions and billions of dollars, hundreds of gifts into it to ensure that it stays that way. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I could talk about the issues with it for days, but one of my favorite Democrats, AOC, had some things to say about it that I think set a perfect pretense to jump into this discussion. So let's start with AOC and then we'll dive in.
Just look at Clarence Thomas, whose corruption is almost comical. Secret trips to retreats, international vacations on super yachts, and private jet jaunts to New Haven for an afternoon. Here in Congress, we are forbidden from receiving gifts that exceed $50. But Justice Thomas has received more than $4 million in gifts, largely undisclosed, since joining the court. And worse, it appears to be working. He is currently primed to overturn his own 2005 doctrine so he can side with Charles Koch's network and their oil and gas interests, the same Charles Koch who he secretly vacationed with at the retreat. Or take Justice Alito, whose quote-unquote friendship with billionaire Paul Singer, along with more undisclosed gifts and private jet trips, was followed by a shift in the court's decision to take up Singer's own case.
So let's start by looking at each justice in the Supreme Court history and the amount of donations and gifts that they have received and accepted. And when looking at this chart, there's a couple important things to point out. The top 3 recipients of donations, the only 3 with at least 6 figures, 7 figures in the case of one that sticks out like a sore thumb, are Scalia, Thomas, and Alito, all of which are conservative. I think this is a good time to note quickly, Republicans flipped out about a $15 donation from Judge McCon in Trump's case, but staunchly defend millions taken by Thomas in all of his verdicts in the Supreme Court, which stands out because Thomas has taken more gifts and more donations than any justice in history. And keep in mind, he hasn't even disclosed all of them. So it's more than what's even shown on the chart, all while consistently ruling in the favor of those who have donated to him, and also ruling in the favor of the court not having to disclose all of their donations, which includes multiple trips and gifts from billionaire Harlan Crow, who has a direct financial stake in 4 cases that are or have already went before the Supreme Court, including 2 in which Thomas and the court ruled in his favor, challenging the CFPB and in favor of Accent Hotels. Justice Alito also took private trips with mega donor Paul Singer in 2008, before then ruling in his favor in 2014 in a case that netted Singer $2.4 billion to his hedge fund. Republicans, after the Trump verdict, love to complain about the state and federal judicial system being corrupt, despite they have multiple checks and balances, they're elected by the people. They talk about Congress being corrupt, even though Congress can't take donations over $50, yet they cheer on Supreme Court rulings, yet they staunchly defend Supreme Court justices that is propped up directly by conservatives donating millions of dollars and the justices accepting those gifts and then ruling in their favor of the people who consistently want this court to stay conservative.
In 2022, these billionaires and their handpicked justices won their keystone victory against the American people and their progress as a society. They overturned Roe v. Wade. So why was it abortion? Why was the threat of women having freedom powerful enough to bring down our whole system of judicial ethics and cripple one of the 3 co-equal branches of government? That is because these rich and powerful men are in an existential fight for a status quo that enshrines their power and places them above the American public in the rules. The confluence of money and conservatism is no coincidence, and we are here today to connect the dots. The group behind the Dobbs Challenge was, predictably, funded by who else but Leonard Leo.
Leonard Leo, for reference, is a conservative anti-abortion activist and lawyer who has long tried to fight against medical abortions, from flooding money into cases against them, propping up cases against them, trying to get appointees who will rule in his favor and take as many rights away from women as he possibly can. And he's also single-handedly played a direct part in the pick or confirmation of all 6 conservative judges on the Supreme Court who have just ruled against Roe v. Wade. It's because of conservatives flooding dark money into politics that the Supreme Court is skewed so conservative, always has been, and potentially always could be if nothing changes. It is because of conservative dark money in politics that they just ruled against Roe v. Wade. It is because of conservative dark money in politics that women's rights are currently being stripped away. And it's because of conservatives that this kind of dark money is allowed in politics in the first place, bringing the Citizens United case before the conservative majorities ruled in favor of corporations and billionaires being able to donate big money to politicians, because Republicans have long known that they're losing their true foothold in American politics. They continuously do worse and worse in the popular vote, relying more on the Electoral College to affirmative action themselves to wins, or gerrymandered red districts on the lower levels, and instead they choose to flood the courts with conservative judges who they can then donate undisclosed amounts to and then count on them to always rule in their favor when the cases are brought up from the liberal policies that most Americans support. Most Americans support abortion. Lo and behold, the conservative Supreme Court that is donated massively from conservatives ruled against the American people. Who is the Supreme Court supposed to serve? Is it supposed to serve we the people, or we the billionaires and we the corporations? This is just yet another reason it is more important than ever to assure that a Democratic president, Biden being the nominee, Biden being the current president, so Biden stays in office, so there will be a few appointments there is expected to be made in the next cycle, and that those appointments can be made to be liberals or left-leaning voices, which is something we need more than ever to absolutely and actually represent the American people. And it's also a reason to fight for true checks and balances on this highest court in the country. There's no reason that these people should get free reign to get donations like this, not disclose them, to stay in the court as long as they want. We should have term limits. There should be elections. Like, everything needs to change about it, including expanding the court. It's long overdue. We expanded it to 9 justices when there became 9 districts. Well, there's now 13 districts. So it's about time. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together.